What's up, influencers? That's right. We're going to be talking about how one of our guests, the guest that's live today, made $100,000 in 1 year, specifically in their first year. And there are 3 tips on how you can do it too. Welcome to Video Influencers. My name is Benji Travis. We're helping build your influence, income, and impact with online videos. I am so excited for you guys to meet our next guest. Her name is Vanessa Lau. She's an online business coach, YouTube extraordinaire, social media expert. I mean, she is just crushing it. This is her channel. Been in the game for not too long, but is just doing laps around people, including us. And she just knows her stuff. This is one of her videos. Obviously, you can see she knows how to get views, but there's just so much more that goes into YouTube than just getting views and subscribers. It's about making money, and that's why we talk about creating an income. It's so important to create a lifestyle, and to do that, you need to have cash flow. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. I'm excited to jump right into it. You guys leave your comments, leave your questions, hit that like button, and let's get started.
This video is brought to you by vidIQ, the #1 Chrome extension for YouTubers looking for on-point data analysis, research resources, and enhanced video creator tools. Start getting more views in less time today by signing up for free at vidiq.com/influence. That's vidiq.com/influence.
Woo! I am excited. Are you excited? I'm excited for our guest.
I am pumped.
Oh, you're pumped? And let's get Vanessa on here right now. Vanessa, good morning.
Hey everyone. Hey video influencers. I'm so excited to be here.
Yes, I'm excited too. And we're going to pop up some of these notes that we have because we're going to dive right in. But if you guys are new to this channel, we're all about building your influence, income, and impact with online videos. That's Sean and I. And we not only want to bring you our experiences, but we interview some of the top influencers on this platform, including our guest who's coming up here next. You've already seen her, Vanessa. But I want Vanessa to kind of dive into her origin story because there's so much about Vanessa that I found out just meeting her recently, talking to her on the phone, that I think a lot of people aren't familiar with. If you guys go to her channel, you know she is crushing it. But Vanessa, why don't you share with us how you got your start, what the journey's been like, and what today looks like? Because I'm excited to dive into how you made a 6-figure income in your first year, but I know you've made so much more money than that. And more importantly, you've made an impact. So go ahead, I'm going to give you the floor and share your story with our audience.
Thanks, Benji. Well, where to begin? So it's only been a year that I've been on YouTube. I think next month is going to be my 1-year anniversary, which is insane. YouTube has been something that I've wanted to start since high school, since like YouTube influencers really started to like blow up and started to make impact in the scene of video. But for so long, I never really pursued YouTube. At some point in university, I had like my first video of me curling my hair. It was a hair tutorial. It only lasted on the internet for like 5 minutes, and then I took it down because I was so embarrassed. And then I never really touched YouTube ever again because it was such a scary experience to put yourself out there like that, right? But then after I graduated university, I started to work in my corporate job and I started to, be an adult and everything. But after a year in corporate, I realized corporate really wasn't for me. And as I was in the 9-to-5, I kind of realized that there was more to life than just working in a cubicle, working for someone else. And I knew that at that point, especially in my 20s, that it's really now or never. And so I quit my 9-to-5 job without a backup plan. So I really didn't have an intention to go back to the 9-to-5. I was kind of in like an awkward situation where I didn't want to go back to the 9-to-5, but I also didn't know what I would do aside from a 9-to-5 because I come from a really traditional, business school background. But I knew one thing, and I knew that life was too short, and I had the whole summer to myself because I quit last year in June. So it's also my 1-year anniversary of quitting my corporate job. And I really wanted to make most of the summer. So I asked myself, okay, what would I want to do now that I have so much time on my hands, now that, really sky's the limit? And the first thing I thought of was YouTube. And so that's when I started to put myself out there on the internet. I started my YouTube channel, and there were so many fears around it. But because my mentality was like really now or never, especially after going down the corporate route and realizing, that path is going to take me this certain way. But what about the other paths? I really started to pursue YouTube a little bit more seriously. I started posting videos once a week. And eventually, we're going to talk more about the strategies later, but eventually after posting, several videos, I had one video gain a little bit of traction. And that was the video that I was most scariest. Like, that was the scariest for me to post. It was literally a video about why I quit the 9-to-5, why I decided to quit the corporate job. And I specifically wanted to talk about that from a perspective of a millennial. And that video started to gain traction outside of just my friends and family. That's when YouTube started kind of pushing it. And that's when I started to get DMs and messages from people who I didn't even know asking me, hey, do you by chance for, businessing or career coaching? I'm also in the 9-to-5, and I really want to find someone to help me escape it. And at the time, I had no business at all. I had no idea what I was doing. And I was like, oh gosh, what do I do with this? Like, what do I do with these people who found me through YouTube and are suddenly asking me if I could be their coach? Well, two options. I could either say no and lose the chance and lose the opportunity to potentially change people's lives, or I say yes and figure it out on the way. And so I said yes, despite a lot of imposter syndrome, obviously. And then the rest is history. That's when I started to work with clients for free because I didn't really know what I was capable of. And because I worked with clients, I realized, oh, wow, I'm actually really good at this. I'm actually really good at coaching people. I actually realized I know more about business and social media more than like most people, because most times you don't really know that about yourself. And then I started attracting more clients. Then I started charging. And then at some point I was booked out with one-on-one clients because lots of people found me through YouTube. And at the time I also, started to post twice a week on YouTube. I started to really take YouTube even more seriously after seeing how it could really produce leads for my quote unquote business. And then later on, I was so maxed out with clients that I decided, okay, how can I still help as many people, but still get paid and still get compensated for it without trading too much time for money? And that's when I launched my first course. And it was a course about Instagram because at the time I was posting a lot of videos on Instagram, and we can talk a little bit more about that later. And then that course really catapulted me to the 6-figure income mark. And so that's the story. I had a couple of videos also go viral, a couple of videos that really started to gain a lot of traction, and that it was like an absolute snowball effect with YouTube.
Yeah.
And this is kind of something that I say to everyone is that the first 1,000 subscribers are the hardest to get. And then after that mark, your YouTube videos just start generating views on its own, and you start really seeing this exponential growth. And that's what I saw happen. And then as a result, I saw my income exponentially grow as well as my YouTube channel grew.
Yeah, well, thank you so much. It's rare that I get an opportunity to interview somebody that's had success so recently, that started recently. So that's the thing. Like, we always tell the viewers, you guys that are watching, that you got to really commit for the long term. This is not a sprint. This is a marathon. But the thing is, if you practice all these principles, if you take in these tips that we're going to be sharing today and apply them every single day and hustle like Vanessa has, you can actually have success much more quickly than like someone like myself or Sean or other people we've interviewed. And that's the point of this channel. So Vanessa, one of my favorite parts of what you just talked about, obviously super successful, you're crushing it, you're going to continue growing. I know that. And I want to share these tips that we're going to share. But I was so impressed with the dynamic between the videos that you put out today and that very first video that you deleted, right? And I can tell you, I can relate to that, like videos that I was so embarrassed. I didn't even upload, right? But you uploaded it and took it down in 5 minutes. And my wife, who's a beauty guru, she's had videos like that too, where it was just so cringeworthy. But let's dive into that a little bit before we get into the tips, because I know a lot of you are watching this right now and you're scared, or maybe you don't feel comfortable. What are some of the quick tips that you would have for our viewers on how to get beyond that doubt and face fear and upload content and get to the point where you've gotten so comfortable on camera, including like right now, even on a live broadcast?
Yeah, absolutely. So totally understandable if your first video makes you cringe.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, there were a couple mindset shifts that I had to make in order to finally commit to YouTube and treat it really seriously. The first was realizing that I'm not creating videos for my friends and family. I'm creating videos for people outside of that network. And I think that the mistake I made and the reason why I took down my very first video years ago was because my mentality was, what are my friends going to think about this? What are my peers going to think about this? Versus being in a service mindset of someone out there probably needs this tutorial on how to curl their hair. So that was a main mindset shift. The second mindset shift happened, years later, where I realized every single year as a New Year's resolution goal, I always say, start a YouTube channel. Start a YouTube channel. And after a couple years, you start to realize it's kind of a now or never situation. My favorite quote, or one of my favorite quotes is, the best time to start was maybe a year ago, 2 years ago, but the second best time to start is now, right? And if you are someone who is watching this and every single year you catch yourself writing, start a YouTube channel as your New Year's resolution, and it's like the third time that you've said, it's not going to happen unless you actually do it. And I think that I was in so much I also put myself in such a state of urgency where it's like, oh my goodness, like putting myself through working in the 9 to 5, realizing, same mentality. If I don't quit now, if I don't start and commit now, 5 years down the road, I'm going to have the same thoughts running through my mind. And I would have wished I started today. And so those were the two main mindset shifts. So let me repeat. The first one is making sure that you realize when you're going on YouTube, you're no longer just doing it for your friends and family. Yes, maybe your initial views are from your friends and family, but your mentality needs to think about other people who don't know you at all, who need that education or who need that type of video that you're sharing. And then the second one is realizing it is now or never. And, one more thing before we move on is that with the whole now or never piece, a really big blockage that I had too was competition. And maybe, I don't know, Benji, if you want to talk about that a little bit more with me, but a lot of people, especially in my community, always say, is it too late to start YouTube? Is it too late? It's so competitive. Everyone's crushing it. The algorithm, doesn't favor creators anymore. It only favors advertisers, all of these things. And I'm telling you, as someone who started just a year ago and is gotten to the place where I'm literally on a live stream with video influencers. You guys are the people who I literally watched when I was starting my channel. I'm telling you that it's possible. Screw this algorithm, screw the competition. You're doing a huge disservice to yourself.
I love what you're saying. I feel fired up right now. And
I'm fired up.
I'm passionate about this stuff, but I can tell that you're also passionate. And I love what you said, like, screw the algorithm. The reality is, logic tells me this. YouTube wants to succeed. They want more people watching their stuff. They also understand they need the creators. They're not trying to go against you or fight you. In fact, they're trying to make it easier for you. So if you think of it that way, it's easier. The problem I see is social media can be loud sometimes, and the more someone complains, the more louder that gets. So that's why interviewing you today is a big deal for me, because, I'm an old grandpa. Judy and I were talking about this the other day. We're like the grandparents of YouTube because we started in 2008. And this is why the dynamic of interviewing you is so powerful, because you've had recent success. This isn't something us preaching after doing this for a decade and having millions of followers. There are people like you, and you're not alone. There are tons of people that are crushing it, making 6 figures, 7 figures, that are getting 100,000 subscribers, 1 million subscribers. So just know it's absolutely possible, and I can't wait. And the 3 tips that Vanessa is going to be sharing with you guys are powerful, and if you apply those, some of them sound basic, but there's so much more that goes into it. Vanessa, before we get into it, is there anything else you want to add? Because I feel like this is something by the way, we weren't planning to dive into this, but I just want to ask Vanessa about her first video. And I love the point you made that it is possible. And if you keep having this on your goals every single year, you need to just start right now. And right now is better than yesterday, because you didn't do it yesterday, so you need to do it today. Vanessa, anything else before I go into the tip number 1 that you want to share?
Yeah, one thing I want to add too is that I know that, at this point where I'm doing this interview, I have 80,000 subscribers and all these things. But I also want to let you guys know that even when I had below 2,000 subscribers, I was already making money in my business. So vanity metrics does not equal income. And I just want to make that really clear, because something that I get worried about is people will see my stuff and they're like, oh yeah, you started a year ago, but you had a video go viral, or oh, but you have this many subscribers. No crap that you have like, all of this income. And I'm like, no, even before I had like 2,000 subscribers, I was already getting clients and getting paid. And so I want to make that really clear, that vanity metrics, I know we talk about it a lot. It doesn't equal income. So I just want to make sure that the viewers knew this.
Love it. You guys, hit that like button if you guys are getting value out of this. I know that I'm getting fired up for this, and we're going to get into tip number 1. But I first wanted to give a quick shout out to everybody that is on here right now watching. Vanessa, a lot of your viewers are watching. I'm flattered when I hear that a lot of your viewers also watch our video influencers. So thank you guys for being on here and spending your morning watching this type of content, because if you're doing this, that means you're hustling. Most people take a break on the weekend. I look forward to the weekend for more time to work on my business, because everybody wants your attention during the week, and then they kind of take a break around Friday night, and then Saturday and Sunday is chill. For me, it's like time to hustle even more, create more content. In fact, I mean, this is a normal thing for Sean and I to do stuff on Saturdays, and even on Sundays I spend time with my family, but I'm vlogging every single day. I love this because I know what's possible. But let's go ahead and talk about the very first tip that you want to share. And so when Vanessa connected with me not too long ago, she said the number 1 tip she has is start with searchable content. Now, obviously, YouTube is a search engine, and that goes without saying. But Vanessa, share with us what you meant and what it meant for your business or your business model and strategy when it comes to searchable content.
Yeah, so creating searchable content is really important, especially if you are someone who is starting out. And the reason for this is because, like you said, Benji, YouTube is a search engine. And at that point when you're starting out, nobody knows who you are. And therefore, it's really important that you're thinking, what are people actually searching for on the internet in order for them to find me? And so this means creating how-to videos, tutorials. Think about how you found your favorite YouTubers. Was it through their vlogs, or was it through them actually teaching you something? I'm pretty sure for majority of you, it was probably the latter. So that's why that's really important. And how I grew and how I got found really quickly was because I was creating content that people were searching for. Now, the second object I hear a lot of people say is, I don't know what people are searching for. I don't know what content to create. Maybe you don't even have a niche, because I know that everyone talks about how important it is to have a niche. Now, if I could tell you a story about how I, first got started, is I wasn't really sure what niche I had. I wasn't really sure what direction I wanted to go. However, I did do the first thing, and that is at least at minimum identifying your target audience. Okay, so if you want to create searchable content, really think about who you're trying to attract with that content. Just because, I don't know, people searching unicorns is popular doesn't mean that you should do videos about unicorns. You should really think about who are you trying to attract. So for me, even though I didn't have a solid niche yet, I was like, okay, well, I want to create a content for millennials. Okay, so after I've identified millennials specifically, I then asked myself, okay, with these millennials, what are some things and topics that they're interested in, that they need to know about, that they care about? And that's why if you actually creep my channel in the beginning, I was a little bit all over the place. I was doing videos about finance. I was doing videos about business. I was doing videos about mindset. I was doing videos about graduation, quarter life crises, all these things that millennials care about. Now, that did really well for me, because even though I didn't have a defined niche, meaning that I was still doing a lot of different random videos, at least I was still catering and thinking about the end consumer, the end viewer, the millennials. Then eventually what happened is, out of all the videos that I did for millennials, I then understood which ones performed best. And for me, it was the videos that were about business and social media. And so then I was able to niche down. So the key takeaway is yes, you want to do searchable content, but make sure it's still, you're still having that end person in mind, but you're also giving room, especially in the beginning, to experiment. Okay, because a lot of people, they think, okay, I need to niche down, and figure this out and like set that in stone. But for me, what I did was I just identified the target audience, the persona first. And then I started to see what was performing. And then I started to niche down even more. And that's why today, I'm not just helping millennials do anything in general. I'm helping millennials leverage social media so that they can build a business based on all the data that I saw across my videos and what was performing.
Mic drop. That was fire. So I love what you said about don't just create searchable content for the sake of getting views. Create searchable content based on who you want to connect with, what you're passionate about, like what. And so for you, you're passionate about business because you're going from corporate America to now being a businesswoman, and that is such a huge mistake people make. They're like, "What is getting views? I need to create that." In fact, I would say opposite is what is getting views, but not maybe getting as much attention from the content creator side, because there's tons of content out there that people are hungry for, but there's lack of creators. In fact, that's one of the reasons in the beginning, when you are one of those creators in those niches, I think that you're also one of them. And we're going to talk about that, you being a female in this YouTube expert world, and also talking specifically, that's another thing I love about what you do, is you're so specific. You want to connect with millennials. And so that is so important. But let's go into tip number 2, which is be intentional. So being intentional, obviously, for someone just reading that is thinking like, okay, like I need to have the right intentions, but is it like I need to be a good person and I can't be greedy? I love your answer. So let's dive into that, Vanessa. What you mean by be intentional with your content, with your channel, with your business?
Yeah. So this is a really important thing. And how this differentiates from what I mentioned before is being intentional means that every piece of content matters. You're not just doing it for views, but you're doing it because that piece of content serves a purpose. Is it to build your email list? Is it to sell a product in the future? Is it to get market research? Really think about the goal of that video. So for example, take my journey for instance, after I've identified, okay, so millennials who want to use social media to build a business, great. Then eventually I asked myself, okay, so in my own services, my coaching program, all these things, what type of videos do I actually need to do in order to answer my ideal client or my ideal student's questions in order to convince them that I am the perfect coach for them? So basically, let me break this down. When you're creating content, yes, it has to be searchable, but you also have to realize that every content piece is really answering a question that someone might have. And if you actually think about, okay, what product or service do I want to sell? And what questions does that end consumer need to have answered before they buy? Then that's the type of video that you want to create. So for example, I have a course, or when I was launching my course called Boss Gram Academy, it was all about teaching people how to use Instagram in order to build their business or in order to attract leads to their business. However, a common question or a common hesitation that a lot of my potential students might have is, oh, but I don't have enough vanity metrics to begin with. And that's the biggest objection that they have when thinking of whether or not they want to invest in my program. So what I do is I create videos about why vanity metrics don't matter. I try to, eliminate any limiting beliefs that they have in order for them to finally feel ready to commit to my product or service. So when you think about it, YouTube is a way for you to build rapport with people. It's a way for you to warm people up. So for example, you might have people coming into your YouTube videos that are cold leads, people who don't know you at all, but they stick around in your channel to know more about you. And that's why I love YouTube, because it's a platform that quickly builds know, like, and trust. You're able to show your face. You're able to, have people hear your voice, hear your mannerisms, all these things. And through that content that you're doing, you are basically helping your audience or helping that person get to the decision faster. Another example is I post a lot of videos about quitting the 9-to-5, leaving my corporate job, all these things. And the reason for this is because for a lot of my target audience, millennials, they want to start a business, but they're so dang scared about leaving the 9-to-5. They have so many hesitations around it. They don't think that building a business is possible for them. They think that being in the 9-to-5 is the safest route to go. So therefore, in order for me to put them at ease and make them feel comfortable and make them trust that my product or my service is right for them, I'll then create videos telling them about my experience of leaving the 9-to-5, the benefits of leaving the 9-to-5, how to leave the 9-to-5. And so at that point, through my free content that I put on YouTube, they're able to ease up and loosen up and feel comfortable investing in my paid content. So that was a key thing that really helped me monetize my channel, was being super intentional with my content. Now, another piece with being intentional And I know that a lot of times not that many YouTubers talk about the optimization part of YouTube. All the keywords that I put into my videos, I really think about what exactly is my audience searching for, and I really leverage the keyword function. So when I'm looking at a lot of people's YouTube videos, I do not see a lot of people leveraging keywords within YouTube. YouTube is giving all the tools that you need to optimize your video. So make sure that your description makes sense, and your description is really adding all the keywords that that person might be searching in the search bar. When you're putting the 500 character limit of those keywords, max out all of them. I max out all of my keywords, and I specifically type in anything that I think that that person is searching for within YouTube in order for them to find my video and connect to it.
Yeah.
Even my title, super intentional. What would attract my audience to want to click on this video? Because it doesn't matter. Yes, your content needs to be great in order for people to stick around and fall in love with you and end up hitting subscribe or end up following you in other channels. But the first impression is also really important. So be very intentional with that as well. Your thumbnail, your title, your keywords, that matters. First impression, click-through rates. You want to make sure that at least you have the door open, or at least people even know which door to open in order to find you. And then when they open that door, how is your decor like? How is your guest experience like? That's the content.
Wow. This is the easiest Saturday morning live broadcast I've ever had to do, because this content is amazing. Just want to, again, give a shout out to everybody that's watching this. This is amazing stuff. T Cobbs Eats, thank you so much for the super chat. Appreciate everyone that's leaving comments and questions. We're going to try to get to 1 or 2 questions at the end if we have time. But I love what you're saying, because it's actually kind of a new thing. Of course, there's tons of, principles that everybody can relate to, that, everybody applies, but being intentional about everything. So being intentional about why you're on YouTube. What do you want to accomplish? That's one of the first questions when people's like, how do I start a YouTube channel? How to get views and subscribe? I'm like, well, what do you want to make happen? Are you trying to be famous? Are you trying to make money? Are you trying to quit your day job? Like, as you're saying, are you just trying to connect with other people that have the same passion or are into the same hobby? Like, be intentional, not just about that, but then secondly, is like, be intentional about who you're going to connect with and where they're at, where's their mindset at. And then in the actual content creation, be intentional about, like, there's a YouTube viewer that's going to watch this video, and I need to be intentional about the way I'm talking to them and what the next step is for them, which is be intentional about how you're going to make money from the beginning. Sean and I always say you need to be patient when you get into this, but you can absolutely start thinking about how to make money right from the get-go. In fact, it's really important, especially in your case. I mean, you're the expert at this. When you're going to quit your job, right? When you quit your job, unless you have a great pension or you've got some severance or some kind of, a way to make money outside of your cash flow from your job, you need to make money. So being intentional about everything, even what you mentioned about the tags. Now, one thing about tags, and I love that you mentioned this, and it might sound like I'm disagreeing with you, but in a way I am agreeing with you. Tags aren't as relevant as they once were. People know that the title and the thumbnail is where it's at, and obviously the content. But what I love about you being intentional about the tags, and Sean and I talk about this quite a bit. If you're intentional about the tags, it means you're being intentional about researching what people are searching for. And that act of researching and putting the tags in there, regardless of how effective it is for the algorithm, in your mind, you're like thinking about this. This is why even the tags need to be researched beforehand, so that it affects what you say in the videos, what you're recording, the B-roll, the title, all that stuff. So being intentional, super fire. Anything else you want to add to it? Because we can totally go to the next principle, but I feel like you just have so much. You did talk a lot about being intentional, but is there anything else?
No, I think that's really it. The next point is going to be another layer of intention. So let's just dive into the next point, because we're going to take it all the way to the end.
There you go. All right. So the next one is drive traffic off of YouTube. Obviously, this is something that, YouTube doesn't necessarily like, right? And so for me, especially in the last year, I've been very intentional about how to live in YouTube rather than utilize all these social media platforms. Like, how do you just live in YouTube? And one of the reasons I do that, it's easier for me because I'm a YouTuber and YouTube gives me so many tools and because of the volume of views. But if you're just starting out, driving off of YouTube for the purpose that Vanessa's going to be talking about is so, so important. So that's the third principle or the third tip we're going to be talking about. Drive traffic off of YouTube. Vanessa, go.
Yes, so important. And it really goes back, like all the three tips really merge in together. So when you're being intentional with your content, this also means that you need to be able to have a call to action at the end. What do you want that person to do later? A lot of people, they do subscribe to my channel, like this video, which is awesome. But what can they do outside or what can they do in the meantime while they wait for your video to upload the next week? For me, it was, DM me on Instagram or at least having my Instagram visible so that I can drive that traffic to my Instagram. And that's really how I grew my Instagram account really quickly as well. But not just having vanity metrics, but also going into the DMs and communicating with your audience, answering any questions that they have. Because as much as I love YouTube, I truly think that Instagram is the relationship building platform. You could host video calls on it. You could call people. You could do voice notes. You could do video messaging. You could text. You could you could do all these different things that I don't think YouTube is there yet in terms of, really building that community. And so what my strategy was great. YouTube is the traffic driver, right? So I've got all these people who found me. But it's very important that I lead them to my Instagram because Instagram is the relationship builder. So if I were to say what contributed to my success of building my income, yes, YouTube got me the volume of people to come in to find me in the first place, but Instagram was what helped me convert. And that's what I personally believe worked well for me. Because I was able to not just have a one-way relationship with my audience through YouTube, I was now able to have a two-way relationship, a one-on-one relationship just because of Instagram. So what would happen is people would find me through YouTube, message me on Instagram, and then I would send voice notes. I would greet them through video and be like, hey, welcome, like, how are you? And then we start talking, we start having a conversation. I start doing market research. Hey, what do you like my videos? Or how did you find me? Or, what would you like to see? Or even just doing some free coaching when I was first starting out to build rapport. And that's what helped people not just connect with me and, end up really becoming loyal or becoming someone or potential customers or clients. It also allowed them to hop on my YouTube and follow my other content, to hit the notification bell, to do all these things because they now feel personally connected to me. And so that's really important, that it's not just about YouTube. You're really thinking about how can I leverage Instagram and embed that together so that you're really maximizing all the tools of social media and creating this flow of relationship management. That's really important. And then eventually in my journey, I started to hit a bottleneck, as anyone does when they start growing really fast. And the bottleneck was that at some point I had way too many DMs coming through, 100 DMs a day almost. And I used to spend all my nights sending voice notes up like for hours until I'd get headaches, trying to really connect with everyone. And at some point I was like, you know what, this is not sustainable. I cannot help every single person that comes through my DM. And so what can I do to alleviate this? How can I still connect with my audience, but still maintain my mental health and also be efficient in my business, because I was no longer efficient. So that's when I created my Facebook group. And, a lot of people ask, when's the right time to create a Facebook group? All these things. The right time to create a Facebook group is when you're starting to get a lot of external people that you don't even know outside of your friends and family who are DMing you the same questions over and over again. That's when you want to create a Facebook group, or at least that's what I did. And that's when I said, hey, if you have questions, write down in the Facebook group. And then I was able to help more people that I knew were within my audience more efficiently versus just the one-on-one method. Not only this, having a Facebook group was awesome because that was the stomping ground for market research. So if I saw that a lot of people were asking the same questions over and over again in my Facebook group, I'd create a YouTube video on it. That way I can just quickly direct people to my YouTube channel. And therefore I'm driving more traffic to my YouTube channel. And that person gets their question answered in a very concise way that would be much better versus me just trying to help them through text. And so that was the kind of workflow that I really built for myself and how I leveraged all three platforms, that it would nurture each other. So it wasn't just a one directional thing. It was kind of like a cycle that I would bring people through.
Woo! I love it. I mean, a question for you real quick, totally off topic, kind of on topic, but in the beginning, when you first started out your year, how many hours were you putting into this once you quit your job?
Oh my goodness. I don't even know. I think that it was like literally as if it was a full-time job all over again.
Yeah.
Something to know about me too is when I took the leap of faith, eventually I did end up going from corporate America, having a really nice job that was paying me $65K a year. I was in a marketing position, managing brands nationally, to then becoming a minimum wage barista while I was building my channel. Because in the beginning, I wasn't making any money. And I also knew I wanted to upgrade my software, actually have really like a website, have all these nice things that obviously cost money. And I sacrificed. I took a part-time job working as a barista, working minimum wage while building my YouTube channel. And a funny thing is that I'm literally looking at my vision board and I have this receipt paper in front of me. And while I was working at the coffee shop, I would literally have that receipt paper and write down by hand all the YouTube ideas that I'd have while it was downtime, while like people were waiting for their lattes and everything like that. Then after my shift, I would just come home and, plan out those videos. So I felt like I could, if I could put an hour on it, I really couldn't, because when you're doing something that you're truly passionate about, that you're really excited to grow, like I don't know about you, Benji, but I really don't know how many hours I work, because I don't know the difference whether it's work or whether it's my hobby or passion.
I kind of knew that was the answer you're going to give, but I was just curious because the reason I know, you're definitely one of the most successful creators I've met in a while in terms of recent success. And that is exactly what people do when they have that kind of success quickly. They literally live and breathe it. Even if they're at work, like you mentioned, right? In between, customers, you're writing down notes, you're thinking about this. And for you that are watching right now, and by the way, thank you again for all the comments, hitting like. If you guys think this is fire, hit that like button, leave a comment with your questions. But the things that Vanessa is talking about is not necessarily rocket science. It's just she wanted this so bad and she cared so much for people that she was just using common sense from her observations of how people use these different platforms to put it all together. I am so pro YouTube, by the way, YouTube Secrets. That's why we title it, because we love YouTube, but people consume content in different ways on different platforms. She's absolutely right when she says YouTube is a search platform and the relationship building is minimal, depending on how you use it, but it is minimal. Instagram is definitely a more one-on-one type of place. But then Facebook groups, I'll tell you, on a side note, Facebook groups, probably one of the greatest tools known to mankind in terms of reaching people and going beyond what the algorithm is putting out. Because when you create a Facebook group that has lots of engagement, you get in front of people, like guaranteed. It's just crazy. And what's nuts is how long it's been sustained. Point being, Vanessa was able to use YouTube to get those searches coming to her channel, to her videos, and get them to say, hey, if you care more about this stuff, visit me on Instagram, right? Then she was hustling one-on-one. And then she was like, when I couldn't keep that up, I'm going to start my Facebook group. I bet you Vanessa is still probably connecting. You tell me, Vanessa, like, have you completely stopped talking to people and replying to comments?
Nope. I still talk to people. I mean, obviously, when you're starting out, and this is why I envy a lot of people who are starting out and who recognize the power of one-on-one, is when you are starting out, you have capacity. You have bandwidth. You can actually connect with anyone and floor them. You can send voice notes, video notes, all these things, personalized messages. And I tried my hardest to maintain that. But obviously, as you scale, and it's funny because before we hopped on live, you and I, Benji, when we had our call, we talked about hiring a team, because that's the next step for me as well as I scale. Because with YouTube, if you want to maintain that connection with your audience, you need to hire a team eventually. With my Facebook group, it grew so fast, almost 9,000 people in that Facebook group now. And now I have to hire community managers. I have to figure out how I'm going to continue to give value without burning out. So to answer your question, yes, I still participate, but I think you can understand that in the beginning, I was hopping on week after week. doing live streams in my YouTube in my YouTube channel. I mean, not YouTube channel, in my Facebook group, doing interviews, doing free trainings, and then hopping on YouTube, posting videos twice a week to educate the public, and then also going on Instagram to nurture relationships. And I quickly burnt out from that. And so now I'm trying to figure out a way. And if I'm like me being completely honest about my journey right now, the stage that I'm at a bottleneck, and the bottleneck is me. And I'm really at the stage trying to figure out, how do I scale this thing? How can I still connect with my audience without compromising my mental health, but still making them feel like, I'm there for them?
Yep. Yeah.
And I don't know if you have advice for that, Benji, but I'm just letting you
know. That's a whole nother video, but thank you so much for sharing everything. That last point, though, it wasn't even necessarily planned, but you talking about how much time and how much time you put into it and how much you cared about the people. And so if you're just starting out, you really value this first year when you're hustling, right? Especially if you're working a job and you're hustling on the side, or even if you're going all in full time, you quit everything else. This is when you lay down the foundation of your success. I believe that the reason Vanessa is having the blessings and the successes and making the money she's making is because she learned so much during that hustle of one-on-one and posting up videos beyond the YouTube. The YouTube is just the basic beginner's requirement. All the stuff beyond that is going to build not only rapport and a relationship so that people can trust you, but it's basically market research. And that is the key to knowing what to put out there into the market, what people need. And there's just no replacing that. Now, there are these shortcuts people take, or people want to create a digital product and just hope they can slap it onto YouTube or onto the internet and make $1 million. But what I found, 99.9% of the time, that's not the way it works. The way it works is you create something of value, but you understand what that value is by all of the hustle that Vanessa just talked about. I just want to give a couple shout outs before we end this. I want to be respectful of Vanessa's time. I want to say, Leanne, thank you so much for the super chat. And then I just want to answer one question from the comments, and then we try to go back in the comments afterwards. And Vanessa, if you want to answer this before you go, I would love to hear your thoughts too. The Sea Unicorn, I don't know if that's your viewer or not, but regardless, asks, how do you target your audience, and how do you know what they want to see? So I briefly touched on that right now. It's like, you got to care first. You got to pay attention and observe, read comments, reply back, start these conversations, and really find out, because in those very intimate settings, that's when you find out what the bigger group wants. And so that's just one aspect of it. Another thing is just researching what people search. And there's no getting around that. Vanessa, anything you would want to add to that? And we're going to wrap it up after that.
Yeah, so with that, figuring out exactly what people are looking for, there are multiple ways to approach it. If I'm assuming a lot of people who are watching this are just starting out, maybe you don't have the audience yet, like I did, to poll and to do full market research on. Go on Google, look at what people are searching for. Go on blog posts, niche blog posts. So let's say for me, being in business, I would look at business posts and see what blog posts other magazines or other publishing companies are doing. Because if they're doing it, and they're huge, that it obviously means something to them. Another thing is looking at other YouTubers who are within the same niche as you, or targeting the same people. What performs for them? Don't reinvent the wheel, but understand, okay, well, they probably posted these videos because their audience was probably asking. Take it a step further. Go on bigger YouTubers who have the community. Go in their comment section. Lots of people ask questions, follow-up questions to these creators' videos that they didn't necessarily address in their video. So why not address it in yours? That's a really great way, especially if you're starting out and you're at a place where you don't have an audience. No excuses, because I always tell people, you can easily ask your audience, poll them on Instagram. There's so many features. But then the objection that I always get is, oh, well, my audience right now is just my friends and family, but they're not in my target audience. Okay, that's fine. But you have the internet. Join Facebook groups that are within your niche. So in my case, if I was starting out, I would join Facebook groups of millennials, that want to leave the 9 to 5, business Facebook groups, female entrepreneur groups, or entrepreneur groups in general, and then scour that and understand what are the questions that are popping up. Because if one person is asking that question, it obviously means that they're looking for an answer. And if you can be that person that can provide that answer, that's awesome. Even if it's one person who's asking the question, make a video about it and then send it to that person. Be like, hey, I made a video for you because I know that you had this question, and that's going to make their day. So really think about every person matters when you're starting out. And I think a big mistake that I see a lot of people make when they're beginning is they have such a short-term vision that they're not able to understand that, number one, every person matters. And number two, just because something doesn't gain views today doesn't mean that it's not going to gain views next week or next month. So let me give you an example. I have a client that I work with, and I help him with his YouTube videos and channels, and I help him optimize, right? And so he had one video that we posted, and we thought that it was like, we thought it was going to crush it. We were like, this is a no-brainer. Everything's optimized. This is what people are searching for. And guess what? That video absolutely flopped. It was probably the worst performing video in his channel. But then months later, for some reason, it started to pick up. It started to get thousands and thousands of views, outperforming all of his other videos. And then he started getting leads from that video. Just imagine if he gave up because of that video and was like, you know what, it's a flop. Maybe this isn't for me. I'm going to quit. He wouldn't have gotten those leads. He wouldn't have gotten thousands and thousands of views months later. So if I could give a really key takeaway before we end off, is have a long-term vision. For me, I knew that I wanted to start a business eventually. I knew that, it's just going to take time. If I commit to this, if I have one-on-one conversations with my audience, treat my existing audience really well, it's going to attract new audiences, which leads me to my second takeaway. Second takeaway is going back to the whole every person matters. I think another mistake that a lot of new content creators make is that they have shiny object syndrome, and they are constantly searching for or looking for people that they don't have, attracting people that they don't have. Well, what I did was I barely paid attention to attract I don't have, and instead I nourished the people that I do have. Treat them like gold. Treat them super well, because when you do that, other people will notice and they're going to want to be a part of that community. That's how I grew my Facebook group really quickly. That's how I grew all my platforms really quickly, because people within my existing audience became my brand ambassadors. Every day I have people sharing my content for me. Not because I ask them, not because I pay them, but because they love me, because I give so much value back to them, because they remember the days where I messaged them privately, sent them a voice note, sent them a video note, and now they're my brand ambassadors. They promote my videos. And so every single person counts. And if you have the capacity to treat them well in the beginning and try your best to maintain that as you scale, it's just a matter of time where you guys reach the level that I've been at, and the level that Benji's been at, the level that any YouTuber influencer that you look up to. I guarantee every single person who started cared about the people they had instead of just trying to chase a vanity metric.
Mic drop again. Amazing stuff. Thank you, Vanessa, for your time. I really am grateful that you would share how you became successful with our viewers here on Video Influencers. Of course, I believe that there's so much more that people can learn. So everyone, go down and click the link to Vanessa's channel, because she's got tons more videos, more content, not just on YouTube, but also on Instagram. So if you guys want to, also check out YouTube Secrets. It is out on audiobook now, so you guys go to tubesecretsbook.com or just go to Amazon and obviously leave us an Amazon review. Vanessa, thank you again so much. Is there a quick thing you want to just leave with the audience? I know you've already basically gave us some of your most amazing advice for anybody that's just starting out, but I want to just let you have the last word here.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I truly scratched the surface. It's only been an hour. There's so much more to talk about. So, head over to my channel, and I post a lot of videos about topics like the and to post more if you're interested in starting a business, more business-oriented videos on how you can truly monetize. So if you have any other questions left, then make sure you hop on over, and there's so much more content waiting for you to take advantage of. it's all for free. Do it all for you guys.
I'm sure people will. And you guys know that's what we do here. We're helping you build your influence, income, and impact with online videos. We'll talk to you later. Go to Vanessa's channel, and you guys have a great weekend.